I think you should chase what energizes you. Everyone talks about passion. The one word to pay attention to is energy. That's it. Let's simplify this. Whatever energizes you, naturally expands you, feels like possibility, is exciting to do. It may be scary, that doesn't matter. It has to do with how it makes you feel. When you were in your 20s, money made you feel good. It expanded you, it energized you. Chasing the money, that was the game. That was your passion. And I particularly want to say that to the women because it is socialized into women not to chase success like that, not to go after the money. And so if what energizes you is amassing wealth, go for it. And the reason why I say that is because people talk about the word passion or purpose. Right. And the truth is, it's not a person, place, or a thing. It is the feeling of being expanded and energized.
Great. Need motivation?
You better watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because when I started my first business, I really struggled to believe in myself. I was making $300 a month and quit on my business partner. And the thing that saved me was watching the stories of successful entrepreneurs. They gave me strategies as well as hope and belief that just maybe I could do it myself as well. And I hope that this video here today helps you get a little bit more. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Mel Robbins, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
If you're pursuing your passion, it means that you wake up every day and are energized. So instead of trying to think, what's my purpose? What's my passion? What's my purpose? What's my passion? I don't know.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking like that, I want you instead to ask yourself, what could I do today that would energize me? What energizes me? If it's making money, figure out how to make money.
Right.
If it is making a difference, figure out how to make a difference. It could be in any single shape or form, but if it energizes you, that's what you need to follow. And what happens is that passion also, because it's energy, it dissipates over time. Because when you first start making money, it's f***ing thrilling.
Yeah.
But what happens is once you learn how to do something once, you can do it over and over again. And so it starts to become routine, which means it's no longer energizing.
Right.
Which is why every entrepreneur out there goes through the mode of chasing the money, and then you hit the money that you need to make, and then you're like, I'm not fulfilled. What's my purpose? I don't know what to do.
I went through that.
I need to find the way. I did everybody does.
Yeah.
And it's because you were energized by the money, and now you're not.
Yeah.
Now you got to be energized by the next thing.
Yeah.
And for you, it's clearly service. It's clearly making a difference. It's empowering others. And so when I look back on my trajectory, the thing that energizes me is making people feel like they matter. It's that simple. It is giving people hope in a situation where they don't have it. It is shining a light on the path forward when somebody feels stuck in darkness.
Rule number 2 is change your limiting beliefs.
It's very easy to see where you doubt yourself, but it's super hard to come up with the alternative thought that you're going to substitute. Well, the reason why it's hard is because you actually believe these thoughts. And these thoughts have become patterns, and they've become habits, and they've become so prevalent in your life that they're almost like the co-host of your life. If you think about it, you are the star of your life, but if the supporting actor is a limiting belief that constantly tells you that you're not good enough, or that you're not worthy, or that you'll never succeed, then it's no wonder that you believe it, because the co-star of your life is your limiting beliefs. And so it's not easy to change your limiting beliefs, but it is simple. And it begins with you identifying them and then substituting them. So the most, I think, effective way of beginning the process of teaching yourself how to identify a limiting belief and then come up with your own substitute positive belief as a way to change the negative pattern in your mind is to use the power of objectivity. So write down all your limiting beliefs. And I'm going to go through this in detail in just a second. Write down all your limiting beliefs. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. Nothing works out for me. Nobody's going to love me. Whatever the it is that you think that's bringing you down. And then you can ask yourself this: what would Mel say? If Mel were sitting here across from me, what would Mel say? Another thing you can do, you can write the opposite of what you're thinking.
Rule number 3 is develop good habits.
Why are habits awesome? I'll tell you why habits are awesome. Because when a behavior becomes automatic, there's zero drama in your life. It's just so much easier. Like, I'll give you my husband. The man is Mr. Habit. He just rolls out of bed like nothing's happened. He gets up, he gets dressed, he meditates, he goes to the gym, he walks the dog, he journals. He does it automatically. No drama. There are certainly areas in my life where I would love to be less dramatic, less emotional, less resistant to the things that I want to do. I'd love to just sort of roll through it like my husband does. And so let's not just make this like a conversation. Let's move from listening to doing. If I could take a science-backed magic wand and I could remove all the resistance that you feel in your body, what is one behavior change that you would like to make? One new habit, or, sometimes it's easier to say, what's a bad habit you'd like to break? Do you chew your nails? Do you hit the snooze button 5 times? Said in the positive, what's a new habit you'd like to create? Would you like to exercise every day? Do you want to get your finances in order and be more responsible with money? I'm going to give you a few examples, okay? Would you love to be the kind of person where part of your routine is to get outside and exercise every day? Or how about the kind of person who keeps your room or your desk clean, or you have a 0 inbox? That'd be pretty awesome. Would you like to be the kind of person that gets up 30 minutes earlier than you do right now? Just rolls right out of bed like my husband does? Or how about the kind of person who feels comfortable in social settings? You push yourself out there a little bit more. You, push through that discomfort. You feel a little bit more outgoing. Maybe you want to make it a habit to meditate and feel like you're the kind of person that's more mindful. That's where the science of habits is so important. Why do habits matter so much? I'll tell you why habits matter. You've learned one reason, and that has to do with identity, right? But the real reason why habits matter is because learning new habits are the only way to go from what your day-to-day life looks like right now to something different. It's the only way. It's the bricks on the pathway to changing your life. That's what habits are. And habits are evidence. Every time that you get out that door and you go for the run, it's evidence that you are becoming a particular type of person. The other reason why habits are so important is because they make your life easier. I mean, I want you to just stop and consider something. Think about how hard it is to be the kind of person who has a habit of hitting the snooze button 4 or 5 times every morning. And then you drag yourself out of bed, that's a habit. And you start your day chronically late, that's a habit. I used to do this. This was the Mel Robbins that you did not know. I was a chronic snooze button hitter. I would drag myself out of bed. By the time I got out of bed, the kids had missed the bus. I started the day behind. It was a nightmare. It was so hard to have that bad habit. And in order to change, I needed to become a different person. I needed to become a person that got up when the alarm rang, that had a morning routine, and that organized my morning so that I would begin the day with a sense of accomplishment. That's what I wanted. Instead of beginning the day like I was behind and I was already failing before I got out of bed. And the gateway to making that change is changing your habits in the morning. When you have habits that support you and your goals and the kind of person you want to become, your life gets easier. And that's why habits truly matter.
Rule number 4 is beat procrastination.
We all procrastinate. We avoid the things that we know that we need to do, and then we spend the rest of the day beating ourselves up. It's amazing. Actually, it sucks, doesn't it?
So how do you stop procrastinating? Oh, simple. Just nail yourself to a chair. That's what you do. You tell yourself no booze until you get it done. That works. No, it doesn't. The reason why these things don't work is because most of us don't even understand what procrastination is. I know I certainly didn't. The reason why you procrastinate is not why you think. Procrastination has nothing to do with work. Procrastination is a stress reliever. That's right. It's a tool that you use to give yourself relief from stress that you feel. And the stress that you may be feeling right now might be stressed about money. You might be stressed about your health. Maybe you're stressed about something going on at work or about a relationship that you're in. And the way that this relates to procrastination is you're stressed out, you got work you know you need to do, but instead of doing it, you go online or you watch the highlights of last night's game, or you waste an hour looking at Facebook. And when you do that, when you avoid work, it makes you feel good, but just for a minute. See, this is where we get procrastination all wrong. A lot of people think procrastination is about willpower. It means that you're lazy. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about your stress. That's why your work ethic or discipline, that's not going to solve this either. The key to stopping procrastination, number one, is understanding what it is. It's a way that you deal with stress. And number two, it's about 5-second decisions that stop the cycle of procrastinating. Because when you change your decisions, you're going to change everything. And here's how you're going to use the 5-second rule to do it. When you catch yourself procrastinating, or you feel yourself starting to avoid what you need to do, use the rule. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, activate your prefrontal cortex, and then acknowledge. Acknowledge that you feel stressed out. That's the first piece. Then you're going to use the 5-second rule to just get started. That's it, for 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Force yourself. I'm stressed out. I get it, but I'm going to work for 5 minutes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sit down and get started. After you've worked for 5 minutes, give yourself a break. Watch all the cat videos you want. I don't really care. The point here is that this is a way that you can use the 5-second rule in combination with research about beating procrastination that puts you in control of your decisions. Stacy found that when she used the 5-second rule to improve her relationship with herself, there was an amazing result. She stopped procrastinating. In her words, your rule has helped me grow in ways I never thought possible. I no longer procrastinate on anything. And the same is going to be true for you. Because when you understand that procrastination is something that you do when you're stressed, and you also understand that the secret to beating procrastination, which is a habit, is to just get started, now you can use the 5-second rule to leverage all the research that will help you end the habit of procrastinating once and for all.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is visualize.
When you allow yourself to envision the thing you deeply want the most. Like I have the same thing about launching a podcast. If I really allow myself to believe it, it's that we will be the #1 podcast, period. And I can feel it. That is my soul pulling me forward.
Totally.
But what's keeping me from really going all in and doing the work is this deep sense that I still am not worthy of the things that I want.
Yep.
And so the battle for you is not, well, for me, it's not with fear. It's with this opinion that I don't deserve to be happy, or I don't deserve and I'm not worth or not good enough to have something that magnificent. And that is what holds me back.
Rule number 6 is set the right goals.
Neuroscience, academic research, and other people's personal experiences can provide unbelievable insights into how, when, and why behavior change efforts on your part can succeed or fail. And I want you to have all of this and be able to use it to your advantage. I already mentioned that 81% of people give up on their goals. Well, guess what? That's not going to be you, because you, my friend, are going to have the science, the tools, the strategies, the shortcuts to not only making change happen, but making it stick. And so this awesome series that we are programming and bringing to life for you is going to begin today with the topic of goal setting. Because one of the things that I know based on the research is that no change will last in your life if it's not personally connected to you. And no goal will be achieved if you don't have a connection to why you want to achieve it. And so I figured if we're going to do a big series that's going to give you the foundational aspect and most recent research around changing your life, we better start with an episode where you identify personal, relevant, and achievable goals that you're excited about. That way, every single other episode that you hear in this series for the next month or so, it's going to help you achieve something that really matters to you. And the fact is, goals matter. According to the research, and you probably have experienced this when you have been working on goals, goals matter because number one, they make you happier. Number two, they suppress negative emotions. And in fact, based on some groundbreaking research out of the University of Wisconsin, having goals that you're working on can even suppress feelings of fear and depression. I mean, that's pretty cool. Third, goals give you a sense of purpose, meaning, and being up to something. In fact, I just had a conversation with our daughter, Sawyer, who was saying that she's kind of in a rut. She's like, I just feel like my life is the same old, same old. Like every day is the same damn day. And it's only gotten worse because she works remote, and she's worked remote for over a year and a half since she first interned for the company she works for as a senior in college. She's almost never gone into the office. No holiday parties, no nothing in person. Every day she sits at her desk at home and works virtually. She hangs out with her roommates who she loves, but it's like the same thing in and out. You want to know what's going to fix this? Goals. Because when you have goals, it interrupts the day-to-day doldrum. It gives you something to look forward to. It makes you feel like something cool is happening. And that leads me to the fourth benefit. Life is harder when you have no goals. Based on the research, having goals makes your life feel easier. And I think even just that little story I just told you about my daughter feeling like she's in a rut, you can see that when you're in a rut, life is hard. When you feel stuck, when things are monotonous, it's hard. When you got something that excites you, something that you're working toward, that's pretty awesome. And that's why you and me, we are going to start with your goals because they matter. And what also matters is how you set them. Because if you don't set goals the right way, based on science, you fail before you even start. And that was Mel Robbins for years.
Rule number 7 is think positively.
How you can interrupt negative thoughts and flip into a positive mindset. And why would you want to do that? Well, the reason why you want to do that is because your thoughts lead you in a particular direction. And if you start to allow your mind to dwell on negative outcomes, if you start to obsess that things are not going to work out, if you allow yourself to continue to think negative thoughts, you're not only priming your mind to default to negative, but you will literally, through your thoughts, trigger negative actions. You know, if you think about it, you've had experiences in your life, right, where you've really trashed yourself. You've hated on yourself. And when you continually think that you hate yourself, or you continually tell yourself that you're screwing up, you tend to do things that you hate, don't you? But when you're in a positive mindset, when you're in an optimistic mindset, when you interrupt those negative thoughts and you start to say, well, maybe it is going to work out, or, you know, I got to just keep on going. Your thoughts literally can trigger positive action too.
Rule number 8 is reduce anxiety.
Anxiety, if this is the first time you're thinking about it, anxiety is what happens when you are worrying about something in the future that makes you feel uncertain or makes you feel like you're going to lose control. That's it. Anxiety is when you start worrying about things in the future that make you feel uncertain or make you feel like you're about to lose control, and you start to get a stomach ache, or you start to feel tightness in your throat, or you start to shake your hands, or you start to have your heart race, or you start to have sweaty palms. Your body starts to get agitated because you're really busy worrying about the test tomorrow. You're really busy worrying about whether or not you're going to throw up. You're really busy worrying about that sleepover and whether or not it's going to go okay. You're really busy worrying about whether or not your friends are going to talk to you when you walk into school today. Or you're busy worrying that something might happen to your parents. Why did I give you those examples? There was a specific reason why. The top worries that kids 12 and under have are, number one, throwing up. Now, why would throwing up cause kids anxiety? Because as an adult, you've probably done it a bunch. And so you know, you throw up, it's over, it sucks, but that's it. There's no sense getting yourself worked up about it. But for kids, this is the number one thing that kids are afraid of, because it is an enormous loss of control when it happens. And it scares a lot of kids to have that happening to them because their brains aren't matured and they don't understand that it's just a moment. So they're not actually worried about the throwing up. They're having anxiety because they're thinking that it could happen at some point, and that makes their body feel weird. And then, of course, because their body feels weird, it makes them certain that it's coming. I mean, kids can actually, I have a son that actually made himself throw up because he got so worked up thinking that he might, that he caused himself to. This is a true story. Absolutely true story. So I have lived this. Being worried about you dying, major cause of worry for kids. They think about it. And if they think about it too much and they don't have a process and a plan around how to live with that very normal fear, it will turn into anxiety. The social pressures of being accepted, going to a sleepover and being worried about what's going to happen because you've never been to the house before. You don't really like dogs and they have one. Your friend's dad kind of scares you. What time are we going to go to bed? You see, there's a lot of uncertainty that we adults don't think about when it relates to sleepovers at new friends' houses that your kids are worrying about. And if they stay up here and they start worrying about all the uncertainty, it's going to cause their body to start to freak out. And then the whole thing starts to spiral. And next thing they don't want to go, or they get there and they're on edge and they need to come home. Again, we've had that situation in our family too, where the inability to tolerate the uncertainty of something that's supposed to be fun. When am I going to bed? What are we going to eat? Will I throw up on there? Are they going to like me? What are their parents like? What TV are we going to watch? What time are you picking me up in the morning? All of those unanswered questions and the inability to tolerate the uncertainty of that triggers the anxiety in your kids. This is what's happening in their brains. The rejection of friends. You know, the group dynamics of kids, particularly in middle school, brutal. You couldn't pay me millions of dollars to go back to middle school at this point. But your kids are walking into it every day and they're worrying about whether or not they're being accepted, because every moment in school is a moment of uncertainty about whether or not you're going to get the answer right, whether or not people are going to laugh, whether or not you're wearing the right things. And so again, these are all the things that trigger your child to worry because they are racked with situations that cause uncertainty and that make our kids feel like they might lose control. Now, here's the major mistake that you and I make as parents. When our kids start to worry, or when our kids start to feel anxious, which is the agitation in their body, you know what you and I immediately do? We immediately try to fix it. We swoop right in and we start to either say, you're going to be okay, and we assure them, because we're trying to fix it, right? We're trying to make the worry go away. We say, oh, well, this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and this is going to happen. And so we answer all their, and we start to put in all kinds of certainty for them. And that is the exact opposite thing that you and I should be doing. And it's not our fault. We've kind of been doing it forever, haven't we? I mean, we're always worried about our kids. And so we put up gates at the top of stairs so that they don't fall down. We've got child locks on caps so that they don't eat anything. We stopped buying the Tide Pods because we didn't want them to choke on it. Like, as parents, we're constantly anticipating things that could go wrong. We're putting in controls. And so it is natural for you and me to jump into fix-it mode. If you want to get your kid to move beyond the grip of anxiety, you have to understand how your behavior is contributing to the anxiety itself. See, one of the things that I believe about anxiety is the reason why we develop it and the reason why we keep it around is because it works. I mean, if your kid is anxious and they start freaking out, they don't have to go to school. So all of a sudden, that situation that they felt uncomfortable around, they've now gained control. Because the anxiety worked. You swooped in, you fixed it, you said, that's okay, you don't have to go. And the problem with doing this is that we might be managing the momentary breakdown, but we are not teaching our kids a critical skill in life, and that is the ability to tolerate not knowing, and the ability in the face of not knowing to assure yourself that no matter what, you'll figure it out. That is one of the most critical things that you could teach your kids. The self-reliance, the resiliency, the courage, and the confidence to know that even though I feel a little nervous and even though I don't have all the answers, I can trust that I can figure it out. And so that's the kind of biggest picture, that I want you to switch your mind from thinking you got to fix this for your kids. And that's us buying into the anxiety. And realize that when anxiety is present, it means that your child, my child, can't cope with uncertainty. And now as a parent, it's my job to teach them how.
Rule number 9 is create excitement.
When's the last time you felt excited because you were up to something that was either cool or it was new or it was exciting? You know, I think about times in my life when I was up to something. It's like those moments of anticipation. I was applying to college, or I was applying to law school, or I was making a decision that I was going to leave a job that I didn't like, or even after a breakup, you know, where you're newly single and you feel like, whoa, oh, I love how many of you are saying right now, I feel like I'm up to something. Right now, you know, I feel like I could be a part of something. Or maybe for many of you who are saying, I don't feel that way, Mel. I'm feeling like my life is pretty stagnant. It was a long time ago. I can't remember when. I want to have you imagine something. Imagine how energizing and exciting it would be to wake up every day and feel like you're a part of something really cool. Imagine if you made a decision that starting literally today, you were going to be up to something. You were going to push yourself. You know, it makes me kind of sad, everybody, how many of you are sitting there saying, I can't even remember. I've lost my direction. And I want to tell you something. If you feel lost, if you feel stuck, if you feel like it has been way too long since you've had something that you've looked forward to, I want to tell you something. You deserve to have that energy back in your life. You deserve to get the push that you need. Because last night was a reminder of something. You know, it's so easy, and I know that I can fall into this too. It's so easy to kind of get stuck in your rut, especially after working from home for 2 years, especially after coming through the pandemic, especially after being in this routine of isolation and feeling like nothing is ever going to change. Last night for me, being in New York City and just coming down and being with friends and seeing how energizing it is to be around people that are up to something, it reminded me of this piece of research that when you hear it, it sounds kind of stupid, right? But then when you stop and think about it, it's so true. When researchers study happiness, you want to know something crazy about happy people? Happy people are just prioritizing and making time to do the little things that make them happy. And what we also know, and you know this too, that when you look forward and you see things in your calendar, just this weekend, for example, just this weekend having something that you've planned, something that you're going to be a part of, that just having something just out in the near future to look forward to, it gives you two bursts of energy. Two. Number one, the planning of it makes you think about it, right? And as you anticipate it and you anticipate what something is going to be like, you get this burst of energy. And then the doing of it makes you feel energized and excited again, okay? And so last night, when I came down here to New York City to support my friend Tunde and be a part of her big event here in New York, launching her book, just thinking about the fact that it was coming up made me feel excited and energized. And being there made me feel excited and energized.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is find a breakthrough.
Part of creating a better life is having moments that you're going to have to navigate where you get triggered by something stupid or something profound and all these emotions come up and you say, F it. And I do not want you to give up in those moments. I do not want you to throw in the towel or throw out the Christmas cards or say, I can't do it. I mean, that's what I did yesterday. I felt that huge wave. I said, that's it, F it. I came up into the office and I started crying and I said to the team, I can't do this. I can't talk about habits. I can't even get Christmas cards out in the mail. I can't do this. I went to my husband and my daughter and I said, I'm not doing 75 hard. I got too much going on. This is not the time for me to do this. Like, I'm setting myself for failure. And you know what they said? They said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And they sat there and they listened to me whine and whine and whine. And Chris looked at me and he said, Mel, you got to have a breakthrough. You have to take on something that feels hard. And you have to do it for longer than the month or the, 45 days that you've done it in the past. And right now is the perfect time. The fact that you're feeling the f it just 4 days in, this is a good thing, Mel, because it's pushing buttons in you. And so what was interesting, because it's pushing buttons in you. And you know what? He's right. He's absolutely right. And so I went to bed, like immediately. I didn't even want to tempt myself because I was so frazzled. I went to bed, I slept all night, and when I woke up this morning and came up to work, what was so interesting is that life doesn't always give you what you want, but it does give you what you need. And I think f*** it moments sometimes are what you need, because you need to see that you can have a moment where you want to give up, and you can even screw up in those moments. And you can get back on the transformation train and you can keep going. That you are bigger than the f*** it moment, that the f*** it moment is there to test you. It's there because it's part of the process of growing.
Self-worth. I gave myself a 9 because, I've done the work. One of the reasons why I think what we talk about really resonates with you is that it's real. I didn't read this in some book, and now I'm curating it for you. This is all stuff that we've tried, that has been road tested, that has been earned through the ups and downs of life. And I also offer up everything that I say to you, not as a mandate, even though sometimes I'm incredibly passionate about what I'm saying, but I offer it up as something for you to consider. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. And you get to choose how you want to live it. You get to choose whether or not you're going to suffer through it. You get to choose whether or not you're going to be happy through it. You get to choose whether or not you're going to continue to live with the stories from your past, or whether or not you're going to update them and change for the better. Because you're the one that will reap the benefits or suffer the consequences. And so any passion comes from the fact that I used to be a miserable person. I used to hate myself. I used to destroy relationships because of my own self-loathing. And I still have some work to do. I was talking to Tara, a very good friend of ours who is also my favorite yoga instructor. And she was talking today about how she just felt really sad. And I was saying to her, I can relate to that because while I'm very fulfilled, I feel disconnected. And I still have parts of my life where I don't like myself. And I think that's normal. And there are parts of my life where I still have armor up. And this is the year, even though I've spent a decade really digging deep and curing my anxiety and identifying the limiting beliefs that I have and trying to be deliberate about updating the story that I have, that I tell myself about myself, and that I don't deserve it, that nobody likes me, that I'm not doing a good job, that at some point this is all going to disappear, that, I don't matter. All those just crappy things that you say to yourself. And so I've done a lot of work. And so while my self-worth is at a 9, I'm very proud of the work. I still have a lot of work to do. And so this is going to be a year where I go deeper. And what does that mean? I don't know yet. It probably means that I think I'd like to try to find a therapist. I think it'd be really cool, especially as I'm taking on all these things that are more confronting. It means that I want to do more listening. I'm going to do a lot of talking, but a little less talking and a little more listening. I want to consume more content instead of being focused on creating it. That's been a big missing for me is, I stand up on a lot of stages and speak. I'd like to sit in an audience and listen here and there, and be more deliberate about my own development because there's still a lot that I got to learn. And as we take on new challenges in this company, and again, what direction does life go in? Forward. And as life goes forward and as our business goes forward and as opportunities come and they go and as some things are successful and some things are a disaster, it's going to require me to go deeper. And so that's what I'm going to be deliberate about. So my body, micro exercise. My work is about a digital focus. My money is about socking money away personally and about also diversifying income streams business-wise. My love life is being more deliberate, so a date a week with Chris. He has the flu right now, so I'm not going near him. It's not going to happen today. Friendships, being a better friend, and my self-worth going deeper. The thing about procrastination is it's triggered by stress. So your cleaning is being triggered by stress. And there's only one way to deal with this pattern. You have to interrupt it. So when you catch yourself cleaning next time, that's a moment of power because you're now present. You're like, oh my God, here I am cleaning again. Use the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to switch gears in your brain and get control in the moment. And then I want you to just do one thing on your side hustle. That's it. Drop the cleaning stuff, walk over, send one email on your side hustle, write one paragraph of content, do one thing. And here's why. Here's why I want you to focus on doing one thing or working for 5 minutes. That's it. Set a timer for 5 minutes. I'm going to work on content for 5 minutes. We know based on the research that you're 80% of the time you're going to keep going past the 5 minutes because the issue isn't that you don't know how to create content. The issue is that when you start to feel stressed out, you go to cleaning. It's a pattern that you've trained yourself to do. The only way to interrupt that pattern is to break it and insert a new one, okay? And let me just say something about procrastination and perfectionism, okay? Because how many of you struggle with being a perfectionist? Yep, I'm sure. The thing about those of you who are perfectionists is that it's not about being perfect. Perfectionism is really your attempt to be in control. And we're seeing a massive rise in the number of people that struggle with perfectionism. And I think it has to do with the fact that our culture is now so focused on performing from an early childhood, from how you do in school to being on the right club team, and then it's the travel team, and then it's the this team, and then it's recruiting for college, and the way that we parent our kids, and helicoptering and swooping down, and the pressure of college, and the pressure to achieve, and the concern that you're going to make a mistake. I mean, this has become a self-imposed epidemic. And so if you are somebody who struggles with perfectionism. You can't turn in something at work until it's perfect. You can't finish the paper until it's perfect. You can't even start with redecorating your room until you know the perfect color. That this is really about control. You are uncomfortable just being in the flow. You're uncomfortable with the unknown. And the most important thing here is to realize that this is a pattern, and you absolutely have to break free of the need to do everything right and to get into the mode of just being willing to try. Get into the mode of understanding, hey, if I turn in something at work that's not like perfect, I'll get feedback and then I'll make it right. Like in the work and in the willingness to just keep pushing things down the line, keep showing up, keep raising your hand even though you're not sure you're going to say it right, keep contributing, keep asking for feedback. You 1,000% will slowly lose the grip of being a perfectionist. Because the only way to break that pattern is to realize, oh my God, I'm trying to keep control, and that's why I'm holding on to this paper. That's why I'm torturing myself. That's why I'm doing everything. The magic is in the willingness to push things forward, to try, to get in the flow, to basically say, I'm just gonna do my best. That's it. I'm not gonna do it right. I'm going to just try. I'm gonna do my best. And when I get feedback on how I can do it better, that's how I'm gonna learn. I am a lifelong learner. I don't ever think I'm gonna do anything perfect. This is not something I struggle with anymore because I have broken this pattern in my mind and realized that all of the opportunity and magic comes from you being willing to put yourself out there when you're not perfect, being willing to do things and start things when you haven't figured it out, and understanding that when you get into the flow and into the conversation and into the live stream, that you can get into problem solving mode and you can figure it out.
I think most of us have an experience, especially as women, where we feel and know that we are last in our own lists. That if we tell somebody else we're going to do something, we will be there. But when we promise ourselves we're not going to have a drink tonight, or we're going to get up tomorrow morning early and journal or go for a walk, or we're going to lose weight and stick to some healthy goals because we know we deserve to feel better, we abandon those promises over and over and over again. And one of the things that I've come to learn about myself and that I've come to learn about human behavior in general is the reason why we women do that is because we've been trained to. And we don't even need to go into it, but anybody that was raised in a household in a traditional gender sense who saw behavior modeled for them around being a good daughter, or watching your mom tirelessly take care of your grandparents or her partner or her friends, watch her be exhausted, you start to learn that pattern yourself. You start to learn that people like you and they love you more when you behave and when you take care of them. And so we do more and more and more of it. And there's substantial research in every aspect of a woman's life that this is true. It's also true in your job. You probably are the caretaker at work. You bring in the cupcakes for birthdays. You're picking up after the meetings. And we're not being asked to. It's how we've been trained to develop worth. If somebody else is happy with me, then I can be happy with myself. As long as I'm not disappointing somebody, then I'm okay. And what I really had a breakthrough around for myself, and especially as a businesswoman, and learning how to create better deals, ask for my value, learning how to not feel guilty about going after my dreams and how that might impact my kids in some way. I had a huge breakthrough when I realized that the foundation to success and happiness and fulfillment begins with your relationship with yourself. And for women in particular, we have to it's not even retrain ourselves because we were never taught how to put ourselves first. We have to teach ourselves that it's not only important, it is crucial that you learn how to show up for yourself. And so what does that actually mean? What that means is that when you make a promise as simple as a promise that says, I'm not going to have a glass of wine tonight. That you develop the skill and you put systems in place that support you in keeping that promise. That when you say you're going to get out of bed in the morning because you know you feel much better if you take a half an hour for yourself, that you get your ass out of bed in the morning. Why? Because you said you would. And so when you develop skills of keeping simple promises to yourself, what you're doing is you're building a habit of putting your word first. You're putting you're putting into practice via your behavior that what you say to yourself in terms of what you're promising that you would do, that it matters to you. And you have to do that, because otherwise, if we don't learn how to do that for ourselves, what happens for most women is we get into these issues with relationships where I don't know if you ever had this issue, but geez, Louise, it seems like every relationship I had until I met Chris, and then this was even an issue in the beginning of our marriage, I literally lost my identity. I would take on every musical taste, food taste. I would get absorbed into my boyfriend's friend group. I became defined by whether or not I was in a relationship to someone else. They came first. Their interests came first. And the biggest breakthrough in your life and in your business will happen when you learn how to have that relationship with yourself,
right?
Where you learn how to put your needs first. And until you learn how to do that, and it's practiced by keeping the little promises to yourself, not drinking the glass of wine if that's what you said, exercising or walking the dog if that's what you said, getting out of bed when the alarm rings if that's what you said you would do. And most of us can't even do that, which is why we know we can't count on ourselves to do the big things.
2 wins is a way to practice gratitude and to train yourself to start to see what's going right in your life, celebrate and claim the wins that you see in your life, and also claim the wins that you want to create in the future. So here's the way that Chris and I have been doing it. Chris and I, every single day, whether we're taking a walk in the morning or we're sitting having coffee in the morning, or we do it with our kids at dinner at night, we've done it with friends. It's starting to spread like wildfire through my company as everybody's taking it on, because it's really fun. And here is the simple way you do 2 wins. You ready? 2 wins, the way that we've been doing it is I know I'm going on and on and on. I'm a little ADD right now. We just got out of the house for a 3-day.
The way we've been doing it wrong.
Oh, the way we've been. First, let me tell you how we've been doing it. We have been telling ourselves and each other what's one win in the last 90 days and what is a win that you've had in the last 24 hours. And what I love about it, as I explained on this video that we did on Instagram that went crazy viral and you guys had all kinds of questions about, is you had questions about, do you have to say it out loud? Yes, you do. Because part of it is not just thinking it, it's starting to express it and allowing somebody else in your life to hear it so that they can hold space for your wins and help you celebrate too. But the piece that we've been missing, Chris, is we've been missing the piece that is the third part. So 90 days, last 24 hours. You need to claim the win you want to create in the next 90 days. Pretty cool, huh?
And that also can
Eyes on the road
every day.
Yeah, and that can change every day. And so that was one of the big questions. When you celebrate your wins, you do your 3 wins. That's what we're calling it, 3 wins. We were calling it 2 wins, but this is now called the 3 wins. As you speak what your wins are past 90 days, past 24 hours, you then claim and speak what you want your win to be and are going to work for in the next 90 days. I love this. I love this. Claiming your wins. So Chris and I are going to do this right now so that you can watch how we do it. 3 wins. Yes, we are. So in the last 90 days, a big win for me
Oh, having a daughter who is starting her senior year in college and who seems so happy that we've not heard from her literally in like 5 days. And that's a huge win because normally I hear from her every day. But when she's happy and busy, we don't hear from her. So that's a big win for me. Last 24 hours, big win. Or not even a big win, a small win. A small win is that I've gotten into the car here with Chris and we are heading
That's a huge win.
we are heading out to celebrate our 26th wedding anniversary away for 3 nights. I will take responsibility for the fact that eyes on the road, please. I'd like to get there.
But you're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's a win. But my husband just complimented me.
Wow.
No, but I am 2 hours late. We thought we would leave by 1:15. It is 3:15. So it's a big win that I'm in the car. And about to have 3 days with Chris. And now I'm going to claim a win in the next 90 days. A win I'm going to claim in the next 90 days. I feel like this anniversary is a big anniversary for us. 26 years. Especially after what has been a really hard 2 years. And in the next 90 days, the win that I'm going to claim is that we're going to look at each other and go, oh my God, we have launched a whole new chapter in our marriage. And it's the best, most exciting, amazing, sexy, fabulous one yet. I'm going to be talking to you about the connection between worrying and anxiety and how it is critical if you want to quiet your anxiety, if you want to stop worrying, if you want to get control over what you're thinking about. It's going to begin with a habit that you have that somebody else trained you, that you've gotten really good at this habit. And you know what the habit is? It's the habit of worrying. We all do it. We're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of, sorry, let me just move that a little bit. We're all guilty of worrying about things that are beyond our control, worrying about things that doesn't matter, worrying about things that we shouldn't care about. Sorry, I've got the streaming lights anymore. Hold on, let me just ask Mandy a question. Worrying about all kinds of things that you shouldn't worry about. And it becomes a habit. It becomes a default way of thinking. And so in order to kick off Anxiety Week, I want to explain the connection between worrying and why that impacts anxiety. And now, since we're talking about anxiety, I have to be very clear about something, okay? I am not a therapist. I am an individual who struggled personally with anxiety for more than 2 decades. I took Zoloft, which was a lifesaver, and I strongly believe in trying medication when a professional believes that you are so in a hole mentally that medication will give you the ability to start to claw your way out of that hole. I have learned so much about anxiety because of my own struggles. And 5 years ago, I trained myself to be a deliberate thinker, just like I'm training you to be a deliberate thinker in this program. And through everything that I am about to teach you and all of the strategies that you're about to learn, I learned all of these by researching anxiety. And I road tested them on myself while I was still in therapy. And I then started going off of my medication. And as my mindset reset and as my thinking patterns became more positive and stronger and healthier, I was able to completely cure myself of anxiety. And I say that with the utmost of
relief and confidence. And I have also gone on to use these exact same techniques that I'm going to teach you to help my children deal with their anxieties. I've written extensively about anxiety in the 5-Second Rule book, which is right behind me. We've sold almost 1 million copies of that book. It is the #1 self-published audiobook in the history of Audible. I'm so proud of it. And I speak at length about anxiety and using the 5-Second Rule to cure yourself of anxiety, okay? But I need to make it very clear that these training sessions are in no way, a substitute for getting professional help. If you have the kind of clinical anxiety or you suffer from an anxiety disorder, it is paramount that you seek professional help from a therapist one-on-one, that you try remarkable therapies. I'm going to say it wrong, but it's EDRM or ERDM, which is the rapid eye movement therapy, incredibly helpful. And so don't be a hero. Don't go off your meds cold. Don't quit therapy because you think that this live training program is the answer. This live training program is a step. And this live training program for the next week in particular, while we talk about anxiety, you're going to be introduced to tools that are grounded in research and tools that have worked for millions of people and tools that you can take back to your therapist or take back to whatever counseling you get to help you become a deliberate thinker, which will help you quiet your anxiety, get control of it, and then ultimately cure it with the help of a professional if you have an anxiety disorder. So that said, please, please, please listen to everything that I'm about to tell you and try it, okay? Please try it because this stuff works if you practice it. And again, quieting anxiety, it's not an event. It's not a one and done. This is a process that you are going to repeat over and over and over again because the connection between anxiety and your mindset begins with your habit of worrying. We have a question from Twitter. Is worrying the same as overthinking? If you're overthinking about positive stuff and keeping yourself in an excited state, no, it's not. If you're overthinking and the overthinking is you spinning scenarios in your mind that are negative, yes. Overthinking is another word when it's negative for worrying on overdrive. It means that you worry in loops and you keep repeating the worry over and over and over as if you were washing the same load of laundry over and over and over again. And so we're starting with the habit of worrying about things that don't matter, worrying about things that you can't control, worrying about things that haven't happened yet, worrying about things that are far off in the future. When you start to train yourself to think about things that are not in your control, or think about things that are statistically likely never to happen, that is when you can get into trouble. And that's why we're going to start with worrying. You see, worrying is when you allow your mind to default on autopilot and think about things that don't serve you. Think about things that are outside of your control.
Getting the little things right is everything. So getting out of bed, moving your body, checking your attitude before you walk into your business so you don't bring any negativity in with you. The way that you greet your spouse and your kids when you walk in the door at the end of the day. The stuff you put in your mouth. The person that you listen to in your head. Get out of here, Tina, right? You focus on all those little things all day long, everybody. And the big things take care of themselves. You know how to do this. And so we want to make it more complicated than it is, everybody. It's not. When you get the little things right every day, it shows your brain and your nervous system, your mind, body, and spirit that you care about yourself. It shows you that you can rely on yourself. And it creates its own form of momentum. And I see a lot of you crying. And I know why. Because you're not actually getting the little things right. You've given up on yourself because you've gotten so focused on everybody else and taking care of everybody, all these big problems. And we have to bring it back to the basics. And so what I would have told myself when things started to feel scary, is I would have said, you got to get out of bed. You got to stop barking about what Chris is doing. And you got to cheer for the man. You got to stop griping in your mind and letting your own negative voice come in. And you got to fight to get the little things right.
I want to teach you how to train yourself to dream big. It's actually a skill. And dreaming big is something that we used to do as kids, right? It was so easy as kids to sit in class because you were bored with, whatever it was that your teacher was doing, and you started to daydream. And as adults, we tend to lose that ability. So the Dream Book is going to be your companion to this program. And here's my philosophy about training yourself to dream big again as an adult. In the Dream Book, one of the things that you're going to be doing as a daily practice is you're going to do something that I do in my book. And that is every time I crack this open, because I keep my notes in here, is I write down the 5 things that I dream about. So I've written down, okay, I'm super embarrassed that I've written this down. So I'm going to tell you what my 5 are. And you can see, you probably can't see how red I'm turning because I have so much makeup on because I was in television today. And in television, they put a lot of makeup on you. In digital, I normally look like shit. But this is why we all need to learn to dream big and to dream authentically, because when you talk about it, you immediately shrink because we're trained not to have these aspirations. So the first thing that I wrote down is I want to be the #1 talk show in the United States. You know what's so fascinating is I used to dream of just actually being where I am. And now that I've achieved that, I have a dream that's even bigger. And what does it mean and why is this dream important to me? And this is part of what you're going to learn in the workbook, but I'll tell you why this dream is important to me. Because if we are #1, it means that the work that we're doing that I care so deeply about, which is helping people heal their minds and heal their relationships and to live a more positive, happy, mentally well life, that we're reaching more people. That's what that means. And that's why I want it. I wrote down #1 New York Times bestseller. I have for years said I don't give a shit about it, but I actually do, I guess. And I think it's because it would be really nice to have the powers that be actually acknowledge the impact that we're making. Do I need it to keep going forward? No, of course not. And I will keep going forward. I want to make the Time 100 list for mental health and for the work that we're doing. And the reason why is because as much as I like being an entrepreneur that does things in a very innovative way, that kind of public recognition brings with it resources and partners that would allow you to make an even bigger impact. And so when I think about that kind of recognition, it challenges me to dream so much bigger than I'm dreaming right now about the impact that I want to make in mental health. The 4th one, this is not my dream right now, but I wrote this down 3 days ago, and that is to be the happiest I've ever been living in Vermont. The reason why I wrote that down at the time is because my son is going to go to high school in Vermont, and we are grappling with a move. And I had a mental breakdown when we started looking at houses there, thinking I couldn't live here. One of the interesting things about dreaming is your dreams will change. I love the daily practice of writing in your dream book the 5 things you're dreaming about, because you'll notice that there are things that show up consistently for you, and that's a sign that it's important to pay attention to it. It's important to walk toward it. And by writing, I dreamed that I'd be the happiest I'd ever be in Vermont, I was doing the work of trying to shift my attitude about how I was feeling about a move when I'm not that excited about it right now. The 5th one is I want to build a summer house. I grew up on Lake Michigan. I've spent the last 30 years not on the water. I dream to be successful enough that someday, in the next decade, I will have the money to buy a fantastic piece of property on the ocean, and I will build an awesome house that is a gathering place for our family. And hopefully, that will not include grandchildren in the next decade.
You shouldn't feel alone because so many people have anxiety about toxic relationships related to their families and how they have to confront them during the holidays. So here's the thing I want you to think about when it comes to the holidays. Holidays can be one of two things when you have toxic relationships with your family. It can either be a personal challenge or it can be a chance to have a personal transformation. And the personal transformation that I'm talking about is not changing your mother or your annoying older brother or your racist aunt. I'm talking about whether or not you have a personal transformation, because you can't fully get rid of toxic situations or toxic people, but you can transform how you behave when you're around those kinds of people. So the holidays can be a chance for you to practice boundaries, practice self-control, to be emotionally resilient and strong and not get triggered, and to also have the courage to express the new you, to express your true self. So if you left home a long time ago, you've grown as a person, you've changed, you've evolved, and then every time you go back home, you feel like you've stepped into a time warp and you're suddenly 8 years old again, this is a chance to transform yourself so that when you walk in the door, you are who you are now, not who you used to be when you still lived at home. And so there's a couple things that I want you to think about before you go home, before you have the interaction, so that you are prepared emotionally to make this a transformation for yourself personally. Number one, don't assume the old role that you used to play. So just because you're in your childhood home or you're with people that you know from your childhood, do not make the mistake of falling back into old patterns. Don't suddenly start acting like the youngest one again. If you're the youngest in your family, if you're always been dad's favorite and everybody hates that, stop playing into it. So there are things that we do that we don't even realize when we step into our childhood homes or around the people that we grew up with, where we slip right back into old patterns. Make sure you know what those are so that you have them in check for yourself. Number two, this is a huge one. Don't take the bait. This was advice that I got from my brother a long time ago. Don't take the bait. You know that there are relatives and friends from your past that just love to cast the guilt. They just love to cause issues. They're constantly casting like a fisherman, all kinds of things out there. And if you're the kind of person like I used to be, when somebody gets upset, you grab the bait and then you start trying to make it okay, and the next thing you know, you're arguing with somebody over something really stupid. Just don't take it. Don't let yourself get triggered. If somebody's casting the guilt, let them cast. Don't hit that lure. You know what I'm saying? They're welcome to say whatever they want to say. If you don't react, there's no issue. You don't have to worry about making sure that your mom or your dad doesn't say that stuff. Just don't react to it. And you'll be shocked at how the dynamic changes. You know, this is another piece of advice that my friend Danielle gave me today, and it comes from the Calm app. You can also, before you go into the situation, visualize a really busy road. Now, in a very busy road, there are people that are passengers in those cars, and there are people that are pedestrians on the sidewalk who are watching the cars go by. I want you to think about the dynamic in your family as cars zipping down the highway, right? Everybody's got all kinds of issues and conversations and kids and this and that, and people want attention, and there's all kinds of things racing by. Your role when you're around your family is to be a pedestrian on the sidewalk, watching it all go by. This is another form of not taking the bait. The last thing you want to do when your mom pulls the guilt train up is to climb on board and be a passenger on that ride, okay? You know what I'm saying? You're going to stay on the sidewalk. You're not going to take the bait. You're just going to watch the traffic as it speeds and whips by. Don't climb in when the guilt car pulls up, okay? Next thing, this has also been a major thing for me, empathy. Empathy is a superpower. My relationship with my mom changed dramatically for the better when I stopped judging her and I started thinking about what she must be feeling. Seriously, like if you've got somebody in your life that's angry, that says hurtful things, that's disappointed or upset, all of those things, anger, pain, disappointment, it's all just a mask for hurt. So any kind of toxic behavior that you're seeing in other people, unless it's some sort of narcissism personality disorder, for most normal human beings, if they're exhibiting bad behavior, it's literally just unexpressed hurt. That's all that it is. And a healthy dose of empathy, like thinking about how hard it was in the household where your parents grew up, or thinking about all the struggles that maybe one of your siblings who's really annoying because they take up all the energy, how many struggles they've faced, or thinking about how lonely your aunt is because your uncle's died. Thinking from a point of view that's empathetic, it's amazing. It's very personally transforming, because it helps you set boundaries. It helps you not get triggered. It helps you to be more emotionally mature and resilient. And it will help you make these holidays an opportunity for personal transformation instead of a massive personal challenge.
We've been getting a ton of questions about being paralyzed with the fear of what other people think. And this is so commonplace. I think every human being on the planet is paralyzed in some aspect or some area of their life because they're concerned about what their parents or what their friends or what their friends on Facebook or what their colleagues or what their upline or their downline or whatever, what their neighbors are going to think. If you are struggling with this and you have not found it helpful to attack your thinking patterns, then here's a trick that I want you to try to break the pattern of being paralyzed by what other people think. I want you to pick one thing that you've been wanting to do, that you've been thinking about, but you have stopped yourself from doing because you're concerned about what other people think. Let me give you some examples. Maybe you've wanted to go on a wellness retreat, but you think your spouse will roll their eyes at you, so you haven't done it. Maybe you have a particular Facebook post or a blog. So many of you want to start a business or start creating art, but you're terrified of putting yourself out there because of what other people will think. Today, we're going to break that pattern. What you're going to do is you're going to pick one thing you've been stopping yourself from doing, and you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And the reason why I want you to do this is because I know that if you're still paralyzed, you have not been able to change your thinking patterns yet. That's cool. No problem. We're going to try a different tactic. I want you to change this paralysis through action. Because if you sign up for that class, if you go on that retreat, if you create your art, if you post that blog post, if you start that business, you will be proving to yourself through the actions that you're taking that you don't care what other people think. Try that today. Let me know, number one, what you've stopped yourself from doing, and number two, what you're committing to doing today. Because one way to break this is to attack the thoughts and change the thoughts and get into action first. The other way to do it is to recognize that you're paralyzed, pick one thing that you're going to do, and actually get it done.
You're not going to feel motivated or inspired to do the work if you're bashing yourself and saying, I need to lose weight, I'm a piece of shit.
Right.
But if you say, no, I deserve to be happy, and I know this is going to make a difference, you are building the skill of self-empowerment. You see, it's a skill to push yourself through the resistance that you're going to feel when you have to create a new habit. It's a skill to tune out the self-doubt and to push yourself and do it anyway. It is a skill to listen to a more positive voice in your head and tune out the negative one that you've been listening to for 20 years. And so instead of thinking in terms of habits and all these kind of patterns of behavior, I want you to think about the fact that what habits create in your life is they create skills. And self-awareness is a skill. Pushing yourself to take action when you're afraid or not feeling like it, that's a skill. Being kind to yourself, that's a skill. And when you have something as a skill in your life, you can use that skill to help you in every area of your life.
And it's this idea that you don't ever start. You stay trapped in your head. And if you feel paralyzed, if you've been spinning the same ideas over and over and over again, then you know what I'm talking about. You see, many of you are thinking way too big. You're attaching way too much pressure on the things that you're interested in. Until you start blogging about fashion, you won't even know if you like it. So thinking that you have a dream about doing it and thinking that you have this grand plan that you're going to do it full time, it is a complete and utter waste of your time to be dreaming that big. And let me tell you why. Because oftentimes, if you're the kind of person like Vicky that's getting trapped up here, the bigness of what you're thinking about is what's stopping you. What I want you to do if you're in Vicky's situation is I want you to stop dreaming and I want you to just start doing small things. I want you to go back to curiosity and less into crushing your big goals. The thing about life and business and success is that you have to be willing to start. And for people that procrastinate, starting is the hardest part. For people that worry, for people that think too big, starting is the hardest part. Folks that study procrastination talk about the fact that the only way to beat procrastination is to create what they call a starting ritual, which is a way to push yourself to get started. Because all the research shows that if we can push you to get started on something, you'll likely keep going. If you want to go from thinking about it and wishing about it, you're going to have to push yourself to take action, because nobody's coming to build that dream, to fight the fights you need to fight, to push through the excuses that you have. It's up to you. Because if you want to create a better life, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to prove it. You deserve to do it, but no one is coming to do it for you. And the second you embrace that it's your responsibility, because it's your life. It's your responsibility because those are your dreams. It's your responsibility because this is what is calling to you. And the good news is this: once you have the clarity and the courage to say, I'm interested in being a food blogger, I'm interested in losing weight, I'm interested in launching a podcast, which is my new project, you can reverse engineer anything. I mean, if Terry and I can figure out how to build a digital brand, I think you can too. And there's something called Google, and there are books, and there are workshops you can take. The information is out there. It's your attitude that is keeping you stuck. I'm sure you've heard the advice that in order to grow and be a happier person, you have got to cut the toxic people out of your life. You know, it seems like everyone online is saying it right now.
The people that you spend time with are going to make or break your dreams. Everybody don't deserve to be around you. You got to defend your light with your life.
And generally, I agree with that advice. I think I even told you that you need to do a friend cleanse when people get negative. I got no time for negativity, especially from people online. But there's a major difference between a toxic person online and a toxic friend or family member in real life. Look, if the toxic person is online or it's an acquaintance from a long time ago, that's easy. Just hit delete. Because there's absolutely no reason why you should tolerate anything but positive, hilarious, and inspiring content in your social media feeds. In fact, I personally unfollow people all week long. And I've even noticed that as my goals and my priorities change, the accounts that I follow change too. But let's talk about the harder issue. How do you unfriend someone in real life? First of all, if it's a friend or family member that's starting to rub you the wrong way, don't be an ass. Don't ghost people. Don't ignore them. That behavior is not only cowardly, it is also toxic on your part too. When you have somebody in your life that is toxic, it's an opportunity for you to grow. Because this person didn't start off toxic, they probably turned toxic. When somebody turns toxic, it almost always is a sign that there's something either wrong with them or there's something going on with you. So before you unfriend someone in real life, I want you to stop and make sure you've done your part of being a friend. Now, there's a simple 2-part test that you should give yourself before you unfriend somebody. Here's what you do. Step 1, ask yourself, what emotion comes up for me? Worry and concern? Or is it resentment and annoyance? If it's worry and concern that comes up for you when you think about this person, very simple answer on your hands here. Pick up the phone and just reach out. But if what's coming up for you when you think about this person is resentment and annoyance, it's time for you to go a little deeper to step 2. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, why are you annoyed? Why do you resent this person? And look, if you're annoyed because they're a shallow, backstabbing and their behavior is violating your values and boundaries, easy, unfriend. However, even the in your life can teach you something. If you look a little deeper when you ask yourself the question, why am I so annoyed by this person?
there's almost always something going on with you. Because there's a lot of jerks in the world that you're going to bump into that don't trigger you at all. But there's something about this person that's striking something deeper that you need to deal with. You're triggered. And a trigger is always an opportunity for you to heal something. Unfriending somebody is the easy way out, but when you do it, you miss out on a powerful moment of self-reflection and growth. The fact is, the negativity that you're feeling, the resentment, the annoyance, the judgment, it's toxic inside of you. And so giving yourself a moment before you unfriend, that is powerful. Because the negativity you feel, the resentment, the toxicity, it disappears when you stop yourself from throwing in the towel and you choose to throw yourself and your friend a lifeline instead. And here's the reason why it's so important for you to stop and reflect for real. Friendships are a give and take, and you are a part of the give and take. And if you give this friend the cold shoulder, you're going to take this pattern of ghosting people and unfriending people and deciding that people are toxic into every future friendship that you create. And I promise you, whatever it is that's triggering you right now in this friend that you're pissed off about, it's going to show up in friends in the future. This is a pattern in your life, and with all patterns, they repeat unless you break them apart and replace them. So, once you've checked in with yourself, check in with your friend. It's as easy as picking up the phone and saying hello. And what do you say? How do you do this? You just lead with kindness. You can apologize for how you've contributed to the distance between the two of you. You can say, I've missed you. Their response will tell you everything you need to know about the friendship. And honestly, what happens to the friendship is beside the point. By choosing to check in before you unfriend, it tells me everything that I need to know about you. By hitting pause, by self-reflecting, that's the work that you do to become a better friend to yourself. Every single day when you wake up, you can decide who you're going to be. And the reason why it's so important to wake up and either consciously choose, decide, or set an intention about who you're going to be is because if you don't consciously decide who you're going to be, your habits, your old patterns, and the stress of the day will decide it for you. We learn patterns from other people, and then we repeat those patterns. If you find that you're stuck in a rut, or you're overwhelmed, or you're in a negative place, and you are really tired of being there, the first step to getting the life that you want is you must wake up every morning and interrupt the patterns and the automatic nature of how you go through your day, just going through the motions. And the simplest way to do that is to wake up and set an intention. What mood are you going to be in? How are you going to behave? What are you going to show up and do today? Are you going to be motivated? Are you going to be patient? Are you going to be present? Are you going to be grateful? Those are decisions that you can make. And when you wake up in the morning and you set an intention and you give yourself an anchor to keep coming back to, so that when something stresses you out, or you catch yourself thinking negative things, or you get a text or somebody doesn't respond to you and you start to feel discouraged, come back to your intention. Today I said I would see the good. That's what I mean when I say decide who you're going to be today.
Here's another massive insight. So I always think about business as levels, right? And I also realize that as the media landscape or the particular vertical or industry that you're building a business in is changing, that is a constant, and it's something that you can't control, right? You just cannot control the things that are happening in the world around us, but you can always control what you're thinking and what you're doing in response to it. So all of my work centers inside this gap between what's happening in your life and in your work and what your reaction is to it, and how you can't control the things that are going on around you, but you can always control what your reaction is. And that gap there, that's about 5 seconds long. And you start to understand that you can change how you think, you can change your habits, you can change how you lead, you can pivot and change even the philosophy of your company. And you can do it through the decisions that you're making and managing your reactions. you will become unstoppable. So 3.5 years ago, I got into the speaking business because of the popularity of that TEDx talk that I gave. And that first year I did, I don't know, I think it was like 27 speeches. The next year I did 87. Last year I did 121. I was the most booked female speaker in the world. This year I've capped it at 80. And here's why. I realized, just like you may be realizing in your business, whatever your business is, that there are aspects of your business that you love and that energize you. And there are aspects of your business that are depleting as hell, and that are old and that are tired, and that if you continue in that lane, you're going to end up 10 years from now in a place that you don't want to be. It's so important for you to pay attention to what's energizing you about the landscape around you and about your own business, because that's the secret to seeing around corners. And so the corner that I was seeing around is that as an entrepreneur, even though it's wildly lucrative to do what I do just on the speaking platform, I mean, anybody can do the math on 121 speeches, right? And the amount of money that I get paid to show up and deliver a 1-hour talk, and realize there's a lot of money. Here's the problem. It's a terrible business because you can't scale it other than raising your price or raising the number of times you do it. And guess what else? You have to show up. And I can't sell it. So I found myself in a situation where I had built a multi-million-dollar business, highly profitable, and it was depleting the hell out of me, and I can't really scale it, and I can't sell it. Terrible position to be in an entrepreneur. So I made a decision that what was it, Bo, that actually energizes me about my business? And I answered it with the first question. It's hearing from people. I would rather answer comments on Instagram all day long than stand in a stadium with 5,000 people in it. I get more from the one-to-one connection. That's what fuels me. And so I had this light bulb moment, paying attention, being clear that, wait a minute, I don't want to build the biggest speaking platform, and I don't want to build a coaching business. I want to build a content company. I want to go back to my roots and build a media company. And so with that insight, I now have to change, right? Because the kind of businesswoman that runs a multi-million-dollar speaking business, where it's just you and your speaking management firm and your travel folks and your logistics people and maybe your social media manager. That's who's on the team. The kind of leader that runs that kind of team is very different than the kind of leader that is going to grow a $100 million media company, that's going to syndicate content every single day, that is going to own what she's doing, that's going to build Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn as my personal ABC, CNBC, Fox. And this is what I want you to understand about the story. And that is this. In order to get to the next level in your business, you got to decide right now, what habits do you have as a leader that you have to change now? Because you will not see around the corner. You will not engineer that next quantum leap unless you personally change. And so one of the reasons why I've gone from being the most successful female, book speaker on the speaking circuit to launching the #1 book on all of the self-publishing platform for Amazon, and one of the most read books in the world, and selling like gangbusters still, is because I am constantly innovating myself. I know that I am the single biggest problem in my company. And if I don't constantly pivot and evolve how I lead and what I'm focused on, I'm going to be the blockade. And so, stop looking at what everybody else is doing, stop micromanaging the team, and ask yourself, 2 years from now, when you think about where you want your company to be, what habit do you have to change right now? And you got to view this moment like a test. And what is the test testing? It's testing who you are. That's part of the race right now, how you show up for it, right? It's not a matter of how you finish it. It's how you show up for it and what you do while you're running it, the kind of racer that you are. And look, I get it. This is a very difficult race that we're all running because we don't know where the finish line is. And it is very, very hard to to stay motivated, which is the advice that you're seeking, Peter, when you don't even know when this damn thing is ending. This is the part of the race. I've run 4 marathons. Don't everybody gasp. I mean, it was nothing to brag about. I mean, I finished them, which is something to brag about, but it's not like I won the damn thing. But this is the point in time when you're running a race, when you said you're losing ground. What that means is you're starting to slow down. You feel your legs getting heavier. You feel your breath getting a little bit more shallow. You start to wonder, oh, why did I sign up for this thing in the first place? You start to wonder if you are going to make it. And so here's what I'm going to tell you, Peter. When you are coaching your clients and your clients start to lose ground, when you are coaching your clients and your clients don't feel motivated and they feel tired and they feel like giving up and they don't want to do another set of burpees, what do you tell them? You tell them to dig deeper. You tell them to find the strength within them to keep going. You see, what you need right now is you need to start building the motivation of your mind. Because motivation doesn't exist in your body. It comes from up here. And what I hear is that you now have an opportunity. This is what the test is, Peter, to train harder because you are capable of so much more. This is handing you a moment where you get to become an even stronger and more capable version of yourself. Now, does that mean that you're going to be motivated all day long, every single day that you wake up? No. But it means you've got to have the mental fitness right now to continue to get up, to show up, and to dig deeper when it comes to your mindset, when it comes to your attitude, when it comes to your just knowing that you are going to get through this. And so this moment, everybody, it's telling you who you are. It's telling you whether or not you're the kind of person that shows up to a challenge and you're pissed off, or you're sad, or you feel depressed, or you feel despair, or you feel all of these things that start to take you down the drain of negativity. And what I'm here to tell you is that you are built for this moment. You may not feel like it. You may feel sad. Those are all normal feelings. You may feel negative. It's very easy to do. You may start to feel a little bit of despair. That's going to come and go. But this is where the test of this race that we're currently running lies. When those feelings rise up and you start losing ground and you start feeling like you're not going to make it to the finish line and you start feeling unmotivated, can you dig deeper and remind yourself that you were built for this moment? Because one of the things that I know is that when the shit is hitting the fan, I guarantee you there are people in your life that are looking to you. There are people in your life, whether it's clients or colleagues or family members, that are looking to you right now. You know what that tells me? That you're the kind of person that people rely on. And now is the moment in time in the race that we're all running where you got to teach yourself to rely on yourself. How do you do that? How do you build the muscle of the mind? It's very simple. Very simple. I didn't say easy. I said simple. The steps are very simple. To win this race and to build strength in this muscle right up here, you got to focus on the you can control. And that is what you do with your body and what you do with your mind. And the one thing that has made a huge difference in me, because you can see that I am showing up as a very different Mel Robbins than I've been the last couple of weeks. The last couple of weeks, I have been losing the race. I've been going up and down. I've been doing my best to stay positive, but I am now back in the race. I have now found my ground and found my footing. And it comes in focusing on what you can control. And you know what you can control? There's only one thing. It's what are you doing to make this day the best day that you can do? What are you doing to master this day today? Tomorrow, forget about next week, forget about what's happening this summer. This is a race that will be won by those of you who are the ability to focus on today and making today amazing.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Marie Forleo, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
3 simple words that would go on to change the entire trajectory of my career, my business, and my life. I still use these 3 words to this day. Are you ready for them? I want you to write them down.